Censoring the facts turns our children into idiots. They claim it's for our safety. I'll tell you what it really is. Removing information that empowers all the citizens. The truth doesn't damage points of view that are legitimate. They're trying to change amen to amen and women. How'd we let them make praying a microaggression?
Oops. I fixed the audio at the last minute. I'm not going to replay the intro. I'm sure if you've seen it before, there's no need. If you haven't seen it before, go watch one of my other videos. Anyway, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Dion's Daily Dose. Today is Saturday, March the 9th, right? Yeah. Shawn Holmgren is here in the studio with us. We're going to do face-to-face where we have some, in my opinion, very interesting things to discuss. And there he is.
Hello. Thanks for having me again.
As always, man, it's a pleasure. And there's some wild stuff going on. Did you have something you wanted to start with, or
do you want to just continue with the State of the Union?
Yeah. Let's get into that. First of all, there's something that I actually didn't notice during our live of the State of the Union, because I think you and I were talking, or I had said something. But did you see? Because the news stations are covering it now. He got Riley's name wrong.
Yes,
Lincoln Riley. Yeah, he called him Lincoln Riley. Her.
Yeah.
Is it a male or female?
Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, he said Lincoln Riley, but
it's Lincoln.
It's Lincoln
Riley.
Riley.
It's a woman. It's a young woman.
Okay, that's what I thought. Lincoln, I mean, it could go either way. So,
and I was right that the mainstream media completely loved that speech. And
yeah, what's really interesting that some people have pointed out, including my wife, is that it is very similar, eerily similar to many other speeches he's given. As a matter of fact, I got a video for you guys, and I will show you exactly how similar it is. Here we go.
For too many decades, we imported projects and exported jobs. Now, thanks to what you've all done, we're exporting American products and creating American jobs.
Yes, 23.
Now, instead of importing foreign products and exporting American jobs, we're exporting American products and creating American jobs. We're the economy from the bottom up and the middle out, not from the top down. To build an economy from the bottom up and the middle out, not from the top down. Building an economy from the middle out and the bottom up, not the top down. We're the only nation on earth that has turned every crisis we faced into an opportunity. We're the only country that has emerged from every crisis we've ever entered stronger than we got into it. So your COVID-19 no longer need control our lives. Today, COVID no longer controls our lives. The pandemic no longer controls our lives. The only nation that can be defined by a single word, possibilities. Actually, I can define it in one word, and I mean this, possibilities.
That's
possibilities. I'm a capitalist. So God,
yeah. A couple of things I want to say. I wonder who his speechwriter is.
Right.
Exactly. And the second thing is they really haven't. They always try to say they've accomplished a lot, but they really haven't. The last thing that they did was the CHIPS Act, and I think that was in 2022. So they really have nothing to run on. It's going to be about abortion, and Trump is an evil, evil man.
Okay, so it looks like according to this, on December 22nd, 2020, Biden designated Reddy as the incoming White House director of speechwriting. On September 23rd, 2022, Reddy was elevated to be an assistant to the president. It looks like, yeah, Vinay Reddy is the last one listed as far as I can tell.
Interesting. I wonder if who's writing those speeches.
Yeah, that's who's listed. Whether he's the one actually writing them or not, you know, we don't know.
I doubt he's writing those speeches.
Yeah, but obviously here's the thing. It's hard to mess it up when you give the same speech every year. So, yeah, look, he said the same stuff that he's always said, and essentially declared war against the people who want to make America better, which tells you exactly where the motivations are for these people. They truly don't want America better. They want it. They care about power. They flood it with immigrants that they will give voting rights to, and then make sure that these people vote for them so they get reelected. That's all they care about. They care about the paycheck and the benefits, because most of them, now for me and you, $200,000 a year or $174,000 for a standard House member, for example, right? Like I think 174 or something. Yep. That's a lot of money. $174,000 is good money. To them, it's not, because they have multi-millions. It is not the paycheck. It is the benefits. And it's not the regular benefits. It's the insider trading. Yeah. It's the wheeling and dealing that they do in order to make sure that they have a lot and you have a little.
And that's the problem, is that they have information before the general public, so they can invest in stocks that they know is going to go up.
Mm-hmm.
Numerous people got rich. The former senator from North Carolina, Burr, knew that a pandemic was going to come, and he invested in gloves, maybe it was gloves and stuff. And Pelosi's notorious for that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The Pelosi stock tracker.
Yep.
If you have stocks, why not, man? People are making decent money by following, just buying and selling when Pelosi does. I mean, funny how that works.
Yeah.
Right? It really is. Okay, so
the media said that he needed a great speech, and they claimed that was a great speech, the State of the Union.
Right. Well, here's the thing, right? He uses the same stuff over and over because he gets a positive reception from it. The fawning media says, "Oh, he nailed it. Oh, he did great." So use the same thing again because it worked the last time, right? It's nuts, man. It really is. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I did watch a few minutes of Trump's rally from Georgia. Probably about half an hour, maybe 45 minutes of it.
Was that today?
And that was today, yeah. Okay. And it's remarkable to me, not only the shocking difference between the two people, but the life, the energy that Trump puts in when he's in front of these crowds and talking to them, directly. There's just a different kind of energy there. And we came close. Like, we were going to go to a Trump rally. I think it was in Indianapolis. And at the last minute, my wife had to work, so we weren't able to make it. But if the next time there's one nearby, I'm so there. You want to come?
Yeah,
absolutely, man.
I got to go to one in Fort Wayne when he was.
Oh, did you?
Wayne, and that was, you could feel the electricity when he came out, and the crowd. It was neat. Oh,
I'm sure, man. Like, I'm sure that it's a whole different energy when you're there.
It is. But
even like watching it on TV, first of all, have you seen anyone spend the kind of time and money that he does going state to state, talking to the people directly? Not to the level that he does it, man. Not ever. Like, not ever. The closest thing that I can think of is, who had the fireside chats? Was that Teddy Roosevelt or was that FDR?
I think that was FDR.
That's the closest thing that in my memory that I can really put to comparison, because I can't think of anyone else that has
nationwide.
Yeah, not like that, man. I mean, that's just that alone. Regardless of your feelings of the man, that alone tells me this matters to him. And
he didn't have to do all this.
Right. That's the thing. Like, this is what people don't get. He had billions of dollars, with an S, with a B and an S, billions. He said tonight, I could be relaxing on a beach somewhere, like Biden does, except he does it while he's working, allegedly working, It's craziness. So the next story.
All right. We talked about this the other day.
Yeah, we just talked about this. We wanted to make sure that we had the proper information for you guys, which we have. So in Colorado, there is a DNA analyst named Yvonne Missy Woods, right? And this individual is responsible for thousands of cases. Well, their work is being questioned. Her work is, they said, we have a problem here. And they started looking into what she was doing. I'm going to show you guys here. It's very, very concerning.
Yeah.
So just really quickly, Colorado launches criminal probe into its star forensic analyst, Yvonne Missy. Oh my God, at the end. Yvonne Missy Woods, who, quote, performed shoddy DNA testing and altered data that sent hundreds of people to jail over her 3-decade career. Colorado Bureau of Investigation found the disparities during an internal review while they were reviewing a sampling of cases in November. She's now 60. She's been a DNA scientist for nearly 30 years. There's a lot of information here, but she abruptly resigned, and I'm seeing if they say the number here. Here it is. Okay, so investigators said to date, there have not been any DNA evidence that was inaccurate, but the state said it would need to review and retest approximately 3,000 DNA samples that Woods handled, costing the state a hefty $7.5 million.
Wow, what a mess.
It is a crazy mess. Michael Doherty, Boulder County's district attorney, said his office has identified 56 closed cases and 13 open cases in which Woods was a witness or potential witness.
I wonder if there's anybody on death row because of this.
That is a very good question, and it's something that, as a matter of fact, one of her most notable cases was putting the notorious Alex Ewing, quote, hammer killer, a serial murderer that was linked to two cold cases in Denver, behind bars. The hammer killer was convicted of murdering a family of 3 in Aurora in 1984 and the murder of a 50-year-old woman that same year, thanks to Woods' work.
We have the best, I still think we still have the best system in the world, but we do have in the States no system.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
Nothing's perfect.
Hopefully this isn't going to put a black eye on our system, because progressives are going to say, well, see, our system needs to be reformed. This
Right.
is the problem.
Right. There's a lot that is coming out, but
yeah.
We'll keep an eye on this and keep you guys informed. But what it really comes down to is they're looking at all these cases. They're going to review everything. Hopefully there's no mistakes or fraud or anything like that happened, because again, 3,000 DNA samples is a lot. Like $7.5 million is nothing to sneeze at, man. That's a lot of damn taxpayer money.
I wonder if she was incompetent or was this intentional?
That's a good question. That's what
I wonder if she could be arrested for fraud.
That's a really good question. I don't know. So far, all we know is they were doing a standard audit. They caught some stuff that didn't look good, so they're doing a full analysis. So far, it seems like they haven't found anything criminal.
But we'll see.
But we'll see. There's a lot of work to be done. It's
going to take them years.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know how long it takes to test 3,000 DNA samples, but I'm sure it's a while. Let's see. Let's move on to this one.
The border.
Okay, so the border. We've got we've got disturbing stories about illegal immigrants and things that they're doing, and people being harmed and even outright killed.
The Laken Riley story.
Perfect example. We have some other issues as well. As a matter of fact, a bloodthirsty Venezuelan gang called Tren de Aragua sets up shop in U.S. as border authorities sound alarm. Venezuelan migrants linked to Tren de Aragua pop up all over the U.S. Customs and Border Protection is warning agents to be on the lookout for members of a notorious Venezuelan prison gang, and the socialist country is refusing to take its citizens back, by the way. Internal CBP intelligence bulletin revealing tattoos and identifiers for Tren de Aragua, a Venezuelan prison gang. Members of that gang have been entering the U.S. illegally through the southern border, the same border that the Democrats claim isn't a problem. And, they're just here for a better life. People, that's all. They just want a better life where they can kill people. That's all.
Some of them, I think.
Right. Here's the thing. I've known immigrants. I've known illegal immigrants.
I have to.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I knew a guy. He came in illegally from Mexico. He got deported 3 times. Okay. He got tired of being deported. So he followed the process and he became a legal citizen. And now, interestingly enough, he's a huge Trump supporter and he hates illegal immigrants. According to him, this is interesting. I want to find out if he'd be willing to come on the show.
That would be interesting.
Because according to him, the communities are plagued by illegal immigrants because most people are aware that people from Mexico and places like that, they don't trust banks. They don't trust authorities and they don't trust banks because everything's so corrupt there, right? So they keep all their money in cash. So they're robbed constantly. These illegals know that and prey on them. And that's one of the reasons why. And he's like, I got to go through that shit. They can too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, the brother of the suspect in the killing of Georgia student Laken Riley has ties to the gang.
Oh, wow.
Both the suspect and his brother are Venezuelans who entered illegally. Yeah, I didn't know that either.
I knew he was arrested.
Right, but I didn't know he was connected.
No, I didn't know he was connected.
Warning that the gang, also known as TDA and known for its violent turf wars as it expanded, trying to establish itself where police are already linking it to organized crime. The FBI has also warned the gang could team up with MS-13. There's a marriage made in hell. Last month, 2 suspects in the assault of 2 NYPD officers were revealed to be members of TDA. I didn't know that either.
I did not either.
CBP and ICE sources have expressed frustration that Venezuelan gang members are extremely difficult to deport because Venezuela has a no return policy. They'll check your receipt on the way out, but they won't let you bring it back.
And there's rumors that they're emptying their prison. On
Purposely. Yeah, I mean, why not, dude? Ship them over here. They're not their problem anymore. Like, obviously, I'm not in favor of it. To hell with that, but
you're looking at their perspective.
Yeah, their perspective. I get it. Only 834 Venezuelans were deported in fiscal year 2023, despite there being over 335,000 encounters at the border. The administration had started returning illegal immigrants from Venezuela directly to the socialist dictatorship in October as part of a way to discourage the flow to the border. Lefties were crying. Venezuela was not an appropriate country to return migrants due to its human rights abuses. Administration officials told reporters it was looking to increase the number of flights. One official said that, quote, "We do have the intention of ramping up repatriation flights to Venezuela and that the administration sees it as a critical part of the border immigration strategy. It's an important deterrent," they said, with officials also saying they were pleased that Mexico was also now flying migrants straight to Venezuela. In December, administration had made limited exceptions to sanctions on a Venezuelan airline to help facilitate deportation flights from Canada and Latin America. Gotta love the shirt. Biden, please let us in. But last month, Wall Street Journal reported Maduro stopped flights of deported migrants from the U.S. and Mexico after the U.S. reimposed some economic sanctions. The flights ended at the end of January, officials said, after around 1,800 returns out of 335,000 or so, right?
I wish.
Yeah, 335,000.
I wish Biden and the Democrats would stop playing politics with this.
Yeah. It says the last thing here. Before beginning the flights last year, the administration had extended deportation protections to nearly 500,000 Venezuelans already in the U.S. in September.
Yeah, he issued an executive order.
Venezuela is also part of a controversial parole program for Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans, CHNV, which allows 30,000 migrants with sponsors to fly into the U.S. each month. 30,000 a month. Wow. Just from those areas. Like, we're not talking about like all the other stuff. And obviously, this is the approved ones. This isn't the illegal streaming and the coyotes and all of that. These are direct flights, ladies and gentlemen. I wonder if they get peanuts.
Who knows? But Biden acts like his hands are tied. There's nothing I can do. Well, just implement what Trump had.
Right.
Remain in Mexico and Title 42.
Yeah. The protections are there. The president has. Here's the really funny part is the laws are actually already on the books. The protection is there. They just are choosing not to enforce it. Like, and I understand for those of you that are like maybe a little more knowledgeable about the border than we are, there are complex issues at play here. There's, the request for asylum and there are all these things. However, the Remain in Mexico policy, I think, is the single biggest deterrent that we can have because you guys can stay in Mexico until your trial. I see nothing wrong with that.
Trump also used the foreign aid geniusly by saying, oh, you're not going to get the foreign aid unless you help us stem the flow of migrants.
Right. And the Mexican army was there. There were thousands on our border, our border, to stop this insane flow of illegals. I don't think anyone can look at what happened and say that had no effect. Like, oh, absolutely. It was massive. And now you look at the clown circus that's there and the sheer volume. Like, they took over O'Hare. They're camped out in O'Hare and Chicago police stations. It's freaking nuts, man. It's like mind-blowing how ridiculous these things are getting. It legitimately is.
And then we got crime on top of that.
Yeah, and then we have the surge in crime, so the wife was just watching a TikTok video because she likes TikTok, right? She was watching a video earlier that was talking about how if crime is down, because that's the claim they make, right? That New York City, overall, crime is down.
That's the talking point.
Right? That's the talking point. Yet, the National Guard is now in their subway.
And they're talking about doing it in Chicago, the train station now, too.
Yeah, because these are, quote, hotspots for illegal immigrant crime. That's where they strike. That's where they do. I don't know if this is the right video.
No, I don't think it is. Might have to refresh it.
Yeah. I want to make sure I get the right video for you guys because this is okay.
All right. You want to open it and then the West Armor.
Yeah, for you guys, I don't know if you're paying attention. So Alec Baldwin had an incident on the set of a movie. They were filming a movie called Rust. The armorer,
named
Hannah Gutierrez, was arrested. Alex was arrested. And then the charges were dropped, and then he was rearrested.
And then she had to go first because of that. And then her trial just ended, and they found her guilty of involuntary manslaughter. Right.
So then they're going to move forward with his. But there are a lot of interesting points in this that I think you guys should be aware of.
Irresponsible, because Alex wasn't just the actor on this; he was like the head honcho.
Yeah, he was one of the co-directors of it.
Yeah.
He wasn't just an actor, and this is important that you need to understand this, because if he was just an actor and showed up like, to do his job, right? It's just like showing up to work at Kroger or Walmart or whatever. Your supervisor tells you to do something, you do it because you're following orders. Supervisor gets in trouble. This is like going to work at Walmart, but you're actually the CEO. So you're the buck stops with you, not with the armor.
And it just shows this video like they were playing with guns when they weren't acting at that moment. And it just shows the chaos of the set. Yeah,
and we heard. Go ahead.
I think that Alec Baldwin's he's going to be found guilty too, because they mentioned him multiple times during her trial.
Really? Okay.
And stuff that he has been responsible for. And Hannah Gutierrez this was only her second time being an armor for a movie set.
For a major
so she
production.
Had a lot of experience.
Right. Which ultimately, again, lays at the feet of Baldwin, because he's
been doing this
who hired
years.
her.
True, and he's been doing movies for since the 80s.
Good Lord, yeah, like decades. I mean, like longer than a lot of people have been alive. Put it that way. He's been doing this for a very long time. So there's a certain amount of culpability there for him. We're gonna let's see. Yeah, I think we'll put us down here. All right.
Let's watch the.
Yeah. So this is some coverage of it. Shawn says there's some really good information here. Fair use. Do not copyright strike me, YouTube. You guys suck.
Film Armor Hannah Gutierrez didn't do enough to prevent a deadly shooting of a cinematographer on the film set of Rust. Prosecutors combined behind-the-scenes footage with an expert armorer's testimony today, who says there were obvious, dangerous problems. News 13's Marilyn Upchurch has been monitoring the trial and has more. The expert testimony came from an armorer who didn't directly work on Rust, but he says the footage shows actors mishandling weapons, and he thinks Gutierrez should have intervened. Showing video of actors walking with guns pointed up in the air, prosecutors highlighted behind-the-scenes footage of the Rust production today, while getting strong opinions about firearm safety from expert witness Brian Carpenter.
Do you see anything concerning in this video?
The number one thing is muzzle discipline. That weapon should be turned down at the ground.
See how he's pointing it up?
Yeah,
This is crazy.
It's nuts. And I work, as you guys know, I worked at Indiana State Prison. I had official firearms training at ISP, but I've also attended multiple other firearms trainings. And you don't handle weapons like this. Number one, you always treat them as if they're loaded. Number two, you always pay attention to the barrel, point them down, so that if there is an accidental discharge, it goes into the dirt and not into the air, because what goes up must come down.
Muzzle pointed down.
An experienced armorer Carpenter pointed out moments where stuntmen weren't carrying weapons safely and said it was the armorer's job to not only correct that, but also take back guns between scenes. Gutierrez can be seen in footage with purple hair, mishandling a large gun while retrieving a second gun.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, she's carrying a double barrel shotgun, it looks like. Muzzle end up.
Yep.
Is
Muzzle
that a
up.
proper way to carry that gun?
It is not.
In other footage, Carpenter says actor-producer Alec Baldwin was firing dummy rounds too close to the camera crew. Carpenter said Baldwin also incorrectly handled a gun on set, but says Gutierrez should have intervened.
I'm getting up. Right. Then when he drops his arm, he drops up, that means Brady's close.
Do you see anything?
Yeah, you see the way he's pointing with that gun?
Yeah.
That's an absolute straight up no-no. You do not, under any circumstances, do that.
I think he's going to be found guilty.
Oh, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Again, yes, she should have stepped in and she should have, stopped him. But he's the boss. Like, and I heard there was a severe aura of fear, like a smackdown type of, I guess.
he was basically a huge name in like a small pond.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Plus, he's kind of a jerk. I mean,
I'm
so
trying to be unbiased here, but
yeah. I mean,
I can't stand Alec.
no. Okay, finish up.
But some of the others. Oh, okay.
No, go ahead.
Some of the other stuff that was revealed in the trial, though, was there was a woman who testified that Hannah offered her drugs when they were off the set, like of a powder substance.
Oh,
So that kind of got her in trouble, wondering if she was doing drugs while
under the influence while filming. Yeah.
And then another person testified on another day saying that he was the one that delivered the dummy rounds, and he says he can't believe that there was actually live bullets on it. And it wasn't just one bullet that was in that gun.
Yeah, there were more than one.
6.
So it was an entire it's not a magnet, it's the cylinder, an entire cylinder. There were 6 total live rounds that they recovered, or were they all loaded into the weapon? Do you know?
If I remember right, they were all loaded into the weapon
at one time. So that's I mean, extremely concerning. How do you yeah, that's suspicious as hell.
And then I want to be fair here, the defense was trying to say that she was inexperienced, and which was a fair point, but I do think she had some culpability.
Oh yeah,
on this.
Yeah.
And then there was a woman. They also mentioned how they had somebody on there who admitted on the stand that she threw away some of the evidence after it happened.
Oh,
that there was some dummy rounds that she didn't think the cops needed.
Interesting.
So that was one of the cases one of the things that her attorneys were bringing up. It was a fascinating trial to watch.
It sounds like it. All right, we'll finish this up. Here we go.
He's doing what we saw previously in one of the other videos with the stunt performer. He's using the weapon as a pointing stick.
Gutierrez's defense claims she lacked experience and suggested that she may have had a hard time correcting a veteran actor like Alec Baldwin.
Right.
They also argued the set was low budget with little resources, pointing to an OSHA report which found safety violations.
Ideally, would you believe there should have been 2 armors?
Yes, they should have had more than one armor in this movie.
Marilyn Upchurch, KRQE, News 13.
Right.
Also on the stand today, 2 producers who claim Gutierrez never asked for additional training days, which her defense has claimed that she requested. Now, the man who police say handed the prop gun unknowingly loaded with a real bullet to Alec Baldwin also testifying today. You can hear his testimony that's coming up tonight at 9.
All right.
So yeah, Alec Baldwin's trial is going to come up in June.
I will definitely be looking for.
Oops.
Yeah, I bumped the camera because I opened that. Whoops. There we go. Sorry.
Right, this is interesting. Yeah.
I usually don't have it plugged in, and the plug I had to charge it. So anyway.
To the next topic, the RNC is getting new
leadership. Yeah, new leadership, and he is apparently Trump's guy, right?
And his daughter-in-law is going to be the vice chair, and I think that's kind of a conflict of interest.
You know what, though? I'll say this: I have seen in the RNC, and this is at the state and the federal level, conflict of interest is like whatever with these people. They don't care. I don't know if you pay attention in Indiana, right? Now it's someone else now, but Kyle Hupfer was the chairman of Holcomb's re-election campaign, right? He was like his campaign, not advisor, chairman,
campaign
manager. Yeah. He was Holcomb's campaign manager. He was also the head of the state Republican Party. I mean, if we're going to talk about conflict, it's more than just this. Do I think that these people should be connected to any candidates? No, I don't. I really don't. But if it's going to happen, it's going to happen.
And there was rumors she was eyeing a Senate seat. So I'm thinking this might be a stepstone for her.
Who, Ronna McDaniel?
No.
Oh, Laura Trump. Is it Laura? Laura. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Married to which Trump? I think it's.
Is she married to Eric?
I think she's married to Eric.
Let's see.
No, I think is it Eric?
Who
Yeah, I think
is
it is Eric.
Laura
Married.
Trump married to? There. See, here's the thing. Google does have
I think it's Eric.
a few. Eric.
Okay.
Yeah. So okay. That's what I thought. There we go.
Did you
Eric
not
Trump.
like McDaniel? Ron
Oh,
McDaniel?
I can't. No, I hated Ronald
Okay.
McDaniel. Well, hated's a strong word. I greatly disliked.
What did you dislike about it?
Okay, so several things. Number one, there were all these expenses that she would dole out, but it wasn't for candidates. Like champagne and fine dining and this and that to woo people, but candidates themselves weren't actually backed. Or if they were, it was like just this one or just that one, right? And we see that not just at that level, by the way. You see it at the state and local levels as well, where they may not endorse a candidate, for example, in the primary or whatever, but they will help that candidate with mailers or this or that, and not the other candidates that are running against them.
Did you feel that she supported Trump enough?
No.
Okay.
Here's the thing, right? Trump, I'm trying to think of exactly how to articulate this. The RNC needed Trump more than Trump needed them.
In a lot of cases, yeah.
I mean, I firmly believe that if Trump went independent, he'd win. I believe that. I believe enough people would pull him and vote, right? And cross party lines, as it were. However, does it help that he's on the R ballot? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It does.
For sure. But when Trump became president, and I'm going to reference that book again, the RNC was responsible for the people that took over. And almost exclusively, they sucked.
Reince Priebus was in charge of everything. Yeah. He was the chief of staff.
Yeah. And it was basically all RNC as far as the eye could see. They just said, oh, put him here, him here, him here. And do I think there was enough of a benefit from that? No, hell no. Most of those people were at best, they sucked at their jobs. At worst, they were straight up traitors.
Also, Trump ran into another problem, which was he wasn't part of the system. So he didn't really know anybody. So
Right.
That's the problem. He didn't have people to fill those.
Right.
Sean Spicer was one of the worst press secretaries.
Oh my God.
I liked Sarah Huckabee.
I liked Sanders, man. That's how she became governor. I mean, let's face it, because prior to that, she didn't really have that much of a footprint, you could
She
call
was
it.
just known as Mike Huckabee's
Yeah, and Mike Huckabee's daughter, right? But she kicked ass as press secretary. I mean, she was zing, zing, zing.
There's rumors that Trump might pick her as his running mate. I don't know if it's going to be her or not. I'm just telling you.
Yeah. No, I get it. I don't know. I don't like to speculate because on that, right? I love speculating other stuff, but on that, because there is so much possibility out there, right? There's so many possibilities that he could choose, but also I prefer to wait until he says, okay, here's my VP running mate, so that we can really dig in, because I don't want to dig through like all the possibilities and look at what this person did and that person did. And then let's, like, for example, right, just to throw one out there, Ramaswamy, right? Vivek. Some people love Vivek. Some people don't. He has kind of flip-flopped on some stuff, especially the whole TikTok thing. I don't know if you saw that recently. And we could like spend a bunch of time like focusing on that and saying, look, he said this then and this now, and I don't like that. Da, 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 da. But if he's not going to be VP, it's kind of
pointless.
yeah.
My problem with him is the Soros connection.
Yeah, that's very concerning. I mean, let's at the same time, that's a concern, but I have other concerns. And again, we could like spend a bunch of time talking about, that. I think he would be better served as someone like press secretary. Because he really does, he's very articulate, he's put together well, and he seems to, and I'm not saying I want him to be press secretary. I'm just saying I'd be happier with him at that position than VP. Somewhere in the, in the administration.
So.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, and this is what I said. The whole, that whole Republican debate of everybody but Trump, all that was a job interview for the next Trump administration. That's really what it comes down to, because none of those people stood a chance in hell of beating Donald Trump. That's just how it is.
He's going to be the nominee. It's going to be interesting to see when Trump decides to announce who his running mate is. Is he going to wait till the convention?
That's a good question.
Or is he going to wait until he clinches the nomination, which is going to be in a couple weeks?
Yeah. Now I'll say this: there are people who are of the opinion. This is not me, right? But people that are of the opinion that he's going to pick Pence again. Hear me out.
Okay.
Because I don't see it, but this is their claim, right? Because everything that Pence did, including not asking for including certifying the election when it was in his power to go, there's some issues here. Everything was scripted. And that's what he was supposed to do, because that's what Trump wanted him to do.
I've heard that so many times.
Have you? Yeah, I've heard that, but
the line that just trust the plan.
Right, trust the plan.
I don't see it.
No, and
that would be a shocker.
It would be. Put it this way: if he announces Mike Pence with no explanation, right? If he just goes, my running mate is Mike Pence, people are going to lose their minds. They're going to lose their salt, man. I'm telling you.
Like my dad always says, Trump is a showman.
Mm-hmm.
So that is, I guess it's possible you could pick Pence.
I hope not.
I truly doubt it.
I'm going to say this. I've talked to people, and I've talked to people who actually personally know Mike Pence and his wife, right? According to them, they're extremely nice and kind people and good, right? However, I did not care for him as governor. There were some things he did that I was like, okay. And there were some things that he did that I'm like, yeah. But ultimately, I didn't love him as VP. I felt like, he was overshadowed all the time, which you're supposed to be as VP to a degree. But he felt like he didn't have enough of a presence on his own.
And we're talking about Trump. That's all the oxygen out of every room. Yeah, and that's also a consideration. I mean, we're talking about DJT here. I mean, There's only one.
Yeah, there's only one Donald Trump. But let's talk about this real quick. So who is this guy? Michael Watley. That's the name of the gentleman that is now in charge of the RNC. Ronna McDaniel stepped aside. Committee members cast their votes at the group's spring meeting in Houston, Texas on Friday. North Carolina GOP chairman Michael Watley won that unanimous voice vote and will take the reins of a party struggling to undo its Democratic counterpart's financial advantage as the November election looms. Watley served as the North Carolina GOP chair since 2019, also serves as the general counsel for the RNC. So yay, more lawyers. He was handpicked by former President Trump for the role, has been a strong supporter of the latter's repeated claims that his 2020 election loss to President Biden was due to massive voter fraud. One source told Fox News Digital last month that Whatley was specifically selected because he was, quote, so powerful on election fraud, end quote, that year. That same source also told Fox that Whatley, quote, kept the fraud down in the state despite having a strong Democrat governor. The source added that Trump is focused on ensuring the votes in the 24 general election are, quote, safe. Before he was in the party, he served as a federal law clerk, a senior official in the Bush administration, and as the chief of staff for former Senator Elizabeth Dole, RNC, North Carolina. He also served as a senior advisor to the 2000 Bush-Cheney campaign, Florida recount and transition teams, as well as the Trump-Pence campaign and transition teams. New Hampshire GOP chair and former RNC committee Chris Ager, who attended Friday's meeting in Houston, told Fox, good choice to lead the party. The people at the RNC know and like Mike Whatley, so he's a good choice. And Laura Trump is a trusted advisor to the president, so why not give him the tools he needs to get the job done? If he trusts those people, let's give him what he needs to get that win in November, he said. Whatley will be joined by Trump's daughter-in-law, Laura Trump, who was also elected by a unanimous voice vote to serve as co-chair. Now, I do find that interesting, unanimous. There was not a single person who said, maybe not. Maybe we should pick somebody else. Unanimous. I find that interesting because getting anyone to agree unanimously, that's a chore. It's rare. Trump is also installing a campaign advisor, Chris LaCivita, as RNC chief of staff. LaCivita, a longtime Republican strategist and RNC veteran, will continue to keep his role as one of the two top advisors steering Trump's 24 presidential campaign. The moves solidify Trump's takeover of the RNC and effectively cement the reality of the past 8 years. The GOP is the party of Trump. Today, the RNC poured gasoline on a dumpster fire by promoting Trump-backed election denier Michael Whatley as their new leader. DNC spokesperson Alex Floyd told Fox following Whatley's election, quote, Whatley has embraced Donald Trump's dangerous and extreme agenda and is so out of touch, he even broke with other GOP leaders and failed to denounce a white supremacist with neo-Nazi ties. Dude, bruh, this latest MAGA rebrand will not change the RNC's dire fundraising issues or string of electoral losses, and Republicans will regret elevating a fringe election denier as chairman when he leads into another Trump defeat in November, he added.
Pretty predictable that they're gonna.
Right. Of course, Nazi, white supremacists, it's the talking points. Right. And of course, remember, ladies and gentlemen, it was okay to be an election denier when Trump won. But remember what Biden said. It's what is it? It's not okay. You can't only love your country when you win.
Yeah. You can't just love your country when you win.
Yeah. That was a very prescient thing to actually say, I found. Right? I mean, come on. But that's the gist of it. There's like one more thing. Nikki Haley dropped out, so
Trump will clinch it the 19th of March, the nomination.
Yeah. I mean, it's a done deal. He's won everywhere by records. And I find it interesting that the mainstream media's coverage of it is it's very weird the way that they're covering it. One person brought up a really good point, and that is, look, I'm no Nikki Haley fan, but something that needs to be understood. She is the first woman to win a presidential nominee in the Republican Party.
I mean, a presidential
primary. Presidential primary. She won in Washington, D.C., which, I mean, but But she did. She won DC. So she won.
And Vermont.
I thought she only won like one. She won like one.
Vermont.
Did she win all of Vermont? Let's see. Hold on. Vermont.
Maybe she didn't get all the delegates, but she got some
Republican.
delegates.
Let's see.
I think she got 49.9%.
Let's see. Oh yeah, she got 50. You're right. Yeah, she did get the delegates from Vermont. Holy cow. Okay. There. So you guys can see. Yeah. And like DC, but Vermont, that's an actual state. That, you know, so she made history. But yet, they don't care. The mainstream media covered it like not at all. The only way that they covered it basically was Donald Trump isn't nearly as popular as he says he is. That's it. That's their big contribution. So yeah, very, very interesting ways to look at the situation from what's supposed to be the people that bring us the news.
Yeah, they're not even fair.
Right. Not even close. I'm trying to see. I thought there was another story that I had missed. You can go ahead. I know that there's oh yeah, Sweden. Let's talk about Sweden joining NATO.
Okay. Did we do that yet?
No, we mentioned it a little,
Okay.
but
Yeah, Sweden, it's really surprising. I guess it's not that surprising. But they've had a history of being completely neutral.
Mhm.
I think that they would never join NATO, but then they did.
yeah. So what do you think? You're a lot more plugged in world news than I am. What do you think the benefit is these days of joining NATO?
Of joining NATO?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of it is that we pay for most of the costs. That there's a lot of people that aren't paying their fair share.
Mhm.
Democrats talk about fair share a lot.
Thank you. I was just about to say they sure like to toss around pay their fair share, except when it comes to other countries in NATO, right?
And Trump geniusly has acted like, oh, we're not going to help you. And the media had
Oh my
a
God.
meltdown when
Meltdown
Trump
over that.
said that maybe I'll just let Russia come and invade you guys next.
Yeah. Tell
I
him to
know
do
what
whatever
he
he wants to do. Yeah.
But what he was doing was saying, making those countries say, we better contribute more money.
Right. And you know what's wild? They did.
They did.
They upped their annual contributions to NATO, some astronomically, like Germany. Whoo! Because look, Trump is a very controversial figure. He does some stuff, he says some stuff, but ultimately what he does and what he says gets freaking results.
He knows how to rile people up.
Oh God, yes.
And
he does.
Poland is paying even more now.
Yeah. Poland is quote paying their fair
I
share.
got the numbers.
Almost.
I
Yeah.
wrote down the numbers.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. In 2015, Poland was only doing 2.2%, which was above the 2% threshold that everybody's supposed to be paying in
Right.
NATO.
Okay.
Well, now in 2023, they're paying 3.9%.
Wow. So
of
almost
their
double.
GDP.
What is it?
It's going to be 2% of their GDP.
Oh, GDP. Yeah.
So, yeah,
I thought you
it's
said
double.
something else. Yeah. So yeah, they went from 2.4, you said?
2.2.
2.2 to 3.9. So darn near doubled their contribution.
The countries that need to pay more, the Netherlands are only 1.7,
Okay.
Norway 1.6, Germany is still 1.5.
Oh, okay. I think I was thinking of Poland then.
They're paying more than they used to before Trump did that, but
Right.
they're still not at the 2%.
Yeah.
And Canada's only paying 1.3%, which is remarkable.
Mhm.
And Turkey has been trying to get into NATO for years.
Yeah, I know Turkey. So what's really interesting is Turkey Turkey is an unusual and interesting ally of
It
ours.
is because they also are allies with Russia.
Right.
And they also have, these are rumors,
Mhm.
that they've also have a semi-alliance with ISIS.
Mhm.
So, yes, Erdogan, the president of
Yeah.
Turkey, I don't like the guy because I think he's just making friends everywhere and he doesn't really like anybody. Maybe he likes Putin,
Okay, maybe.
but that's just my opinion. And he won. The people of Turkey seem to like him because he won re-election last year.
Yeah, by a lot,
Easily.
right? Yeah, it was a landslide. And again, personal opinion is what it is because I can have an opinion. Screw you, YouTube. I think if there wasn't all the shenanigans in 2020, Trump would have won by a landslide as well. But hopefully 2024, some of those shenanigans get fixed and we'll see.
He was tough on China and he was tough on our enemies.
You know what? Yeah, speaking of China, I do want to mention this because Biden wants to talk like he actually did something when it comes to China. The only thing he's done is welcome him to San Francisco, Xi Jinping, clean up the city, make a bunch of homeless people disappear in the space of 24 hours, and fly Chinese flags across the streets of an American city. Bruh, really?
And get money from them.
Right. Of course, yeah. It's mind-boggling.
All right. The next story.
Okay, so this is kind of my bonus story, right? And it is so wild to think about. I'm going to read you guys an article because if you haven't seen this, it's wild. Okay, here we go. So the name of the article, if you want to look it up, My White House, Mission Impossible. How I, the CIA's disguised division chief, deceived the Secret Service, infiltrated the Oval Office, and shocked the president by peeling off my face. So the story was posted, updated March 4th. It's a recent story, but this dates back many years. So here we go. At the height of the Cold War, Jana Mendez was chief of the CIA's disguise division, a branch of the agency charged with outfitting secret agents operating abroad. By 1991, the department was developing remarkably lifelike latex masks. At 91, so think back. That's before I even graduated high school.
I was a kid.
Yeah.
I was only 6 years old.
Right. So by 1991, the department was deploying remarkably lifelike latex masks. Think about that. And Mendez was eager to deploy their sophisticated new spy technology where it was needed the most, Soviet Russia. But first, Mendez needed to prove her deceits would work under the most perilous conditions. So she arranged the ultimate test. Could she fool White House security and the President of the United States himself? It's excerpted from, quote, In True Face, A Woman's Life in the CIA Unmasked. I think it's a book, and it sounds like a great read, but here we go. In 1989, our fully animated ethnic and gender change mask was ready for the runway. 1989, I want to read that again because I think it's important. In 1989, our fully animated ethnic and gender change mask was ready for the runway. I changed into a man's suit and donned the mask of a black male, adding matching skin-tight latex gloves that were precisely painted with the same skin color, including veins. Exercises like this, if successful, provided proof of concept. Could I convincingly change my gender? What about skin color? Could I change both at the same time? I'd already disguised a Caucasian male field officer as an African student in a live operation. But this was new mask technology, and we were always testing new scenarios and pushing the proverbial envelope farther than we had previously. Once I was in full disguise, I had someone accompany me to the office of Frank Anderson, our office director. I was introduced as a new contractor. Nodding, I walked to his desk but said nothing, aware that I didn't sound like a man. Extending my hand, I shook his. Okay, I don't know what's going on here. It's acting weird. Extending my hand, I shook his, which I knew would be the moment of my reveal. As soon as he felt the latex on my right hand, I peeled off the mask with my left. His eyes lit up as I transformed back into myself. He loved it and insisted we model it for the director of the CIA, Judge William Webster. I'm going to see if I can fix this real quick. Okay. A week later, as we entered Webster's suite of offices on the 7th floor of CIA headquarters, I was more than a little nervous. Anderson had always been supportive of our disguise program, but I hadn't yet met Judge Webster, a former director of the FBI. A tall, broad-shouldered executive, Anderson walked in first, followed by a 5'7" black man wearing a suit and tie. Now, this is pictures. Jonah Mendez met President H.W. Bush in the Oval Office, wearing one of the disguise department's most sophisticated face masks. After Jonah removed the mask, the president's eyes were almost sparkling as he asked questions. The Becky mask that fooled the president and White House security. Yeah. Sir, Frank said, I would like to introduce you to. His voice trailed off as, again wearing the latex gloves, I stretched out my hand. As soon as I removed the full face mask, Judge Webster's face lit up like an enthusiastic little boy. Astounded by the mask's ability to change ethnicity and gender, he and Frank decided we needed to show off this new capability to the president, George H.W. Bush. I hesitated before speaking up, but had to. I don't think I can wear this to the White House, I said. While it is lifelike and animates well, I can't walk or talk like a black man. The Secret Service will take one look at me, ask me a question, and it will be all over. She does make a really good point. Anderson and Judge Webster conceded my point. We would present a female mask to the president, we decided. Promptly dismissed from their meeting, I returned to my office in disguise labs with a directive to prepare another mask. This wouldn't be just any mask, however. It would need to be the best mask we ever made. Now remember, this is 1991, 1991, I think. Our first order of business was choosing a face. In the creation of every mask, the sculptor played a critical role. We specified gender, ethnicity, age range, sometimes even a specific identity. But ultimately, the sculptor's hand shaped the final product. At this time, one of our best sculptors, a young Latina woman named Becky, was preparing to relocate to California. As my farewell gift and a bit of an inside joke, she decided to give me her face. She knew that her facial dimensions would easily fit over mine, and it was a perfect solution. Younger, prettier. No woman in her right mind would turn that down. Dude, I don't know what is going on with this, but yeah, it's I haven't had this problem before, but okay. We were officially racing against the clock, and a lot was hinging on my meeting with the president. To put this new mask into production and into the field officer's hands, we needed additional funding. Getting support from the White House was critical, and the meeting date was fast approaching. 5 days later, I stood in our lab in Langley putting the finishing touches on Becky. Dude, this is like, it keeps like locking up or something. I don't know. It's very, very strange. Again, I've never had this issue, so. Okay, so this here, Jonah Mendez dancing on board the SS United States while sailing to New York. This is her, the individual,
that wore the mask.
That wore the mask, yeah. Trying to get rid of, oh, fucking ass, dude. Jonah working in a photo lab in Europe early in her CIA career. Jonah Mendez was once the CIA's master of disguises, helping agents conceal their identities and blend in on dangerous spy missions overseas. There's more pictures if you guys want to see. The mask was a masterpiece. Our meeting with the president was a go. 2 days after that, I waltzed into the White House, drafting through security behind Judge Webster. We got stuck, however, waiting in the president's outer office. His previous meeting was going long. I tried to disappear into the woodwork, overcome by the usual paranoia I felt when wearing a new mask publicly for the first time. This was a pretty high-level launch of a mask we'd never tested in the field, and I nervously chewed on the end of a pencil while pretending to study my notes. The delay seemed to stretch on endlessly. I worried that even if the mask didn't give me away, my nerves would. Confidence is everything, I reminded myself, impatiently awaiting the big moment. When we were finally called to enter the Oval Office, we walked inside, where chairs were arranged in a horseshoe in front of the president's desk. Knowing that I would be the first one to speak, Judge Webster directed me to sit in the chair on the far right. As soon as we sat down, we went straight to business. Webster introduced me by my name and explained I was here to show the president some of the agency's new disguise capabilities. I pulled out the folder I brought, which contained photos of the president himself in disguise from when he was director of the CIA. Yeah, don't forget, George H.W. Bush was director of the CIA at one point. Yep. After explaining that our disguise capabilities had improved immensely since his time at the agency, I began enumerating all the ways we could use them to evade the KGB. We could convincingly disguise an officer, even create a clone of an officer, a twin. We could change an officer's ethnicity or gender, or borrow another person's identity if necessary. This technology would change the way we were able to work against KGB harassment on the streets of Moscow. As I was speaking, I noticed that the president was looking at the area by my feet, probably searching for a bag that contained our new disguises. When I told him I was wearing it, I raised a hand to begin removing it. Before I had touched my mask, he popped up from his chair. Hold on, just a minute. Don't take it off yet, he said as he walked around me, peering at my face and neck. I totally get that, by the way. Like if I was president and my CIA person was showing me a disguise and they're like, I'm wearing it, I'd be like, whoa, don't take it off. Let me check this out. Let me get up close. Now that I know it's a disguise, let me check it out, right? At this point, he knew I was wearing something fake, a false nose, a prosthesis. He tilted his head, no doubt looking for the seams of whatever I was wearing. When he seemed satisfied, I lifted my hand again and peeled off the mask. CIA Chief of Disguise Jonna Mendez, right, with two friends in Amsterdam. Jonna Mendez and her husband after their wedding in Switzerland. Some of her disguise department bag of tricks from the end of the Cold War. Suddenly charismatic and intensely curious, his eyes were almost sparkling as he asked questions. While the president graced me with his attention, Dan Quayle tiptoed into the meeting, clearly not amused that he'd missed the moment of my big reveal. But as my exchange with the president came to a close, it seemed clear we would get the support of the men in this room to roll out the new mask. Once I'd returned to the outer office, I was approached by the White House photographer who had been in the meeting taking pictures. Excuse me, she said, what did you do in there? I thought you were taking pictures of it, I replied. Well, I did, but what was that? I can't talk about it, I said after a brief pause. It's classified. I never sought out copies of those pictures, and I didn't receive them until 10 years later. When I did, the package included a picture of me wearing the mask and one of me talking while holding it in front of me, except the mask is airbrushed out of the second photo. That's the one I have hanging in my office. It looks like I'm lecturing the president with my hand in the air, and when friends look at it and ask what I'm saying to him, I always reply the same way. I can't talk about it. It's classified. Excerpted from In True Face, A Woman's Life in the CIA, Unmasked, by Jonna Mendez and Wyndham Wood. So this is, I believe, it is a book. Sounds fascinating.
Yeah.
But the important part to me, look at what we're talking about here. We're talking about a mask good enough to fool the president of the United States, and not W either. Dad was a lot more there and a lot smarter than his son, in my opinion. Regardless of how you feel about him. I mean, anyway, and this was in 91.
Fascinating.
So yeah, so way back in 91, imagine the technology where it is today and how far they've come.
33 years later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy. If you think about, okay, look at phones, right? 33 years ago in 91.
Landlines.
Yeah, payphones, right? Look at the level computers, the crappy little Intel, Pentium, right? The Pentium. Yeah, I don't even know if we had Pentium in 91. I think we did. I think we had like the 486. I
have
think.
no idea.
Yeah.
First computer I remember is in like 94.
When did you? We're almost done. But what was your first computer? What year do you remember when you got
time
your
I went
first
on the
PC?
internet, or when I went on just a computer?
I would like. I guess what was your first computer that you owned?
Oh, that I owned.
Yeah.
Would have been probably in my parents' computer in 2000.
Okay. When I was 13 years old, I got a Commodore 64. My mom got it for me. And it was kind of old at that point, but she knew somebody who had a Commodore 64 and a whole bunch of games, and they were selling it. And my buddy, Jim, he had a Commodore 64, and I was so jealous. He had like so many games. I like to play Gunship, and there were a few other ones, but Gunship was a wireframed game, right? Everything was like wireframing, and you were flying a helicopter,
Okay.
like the Apache. And so you had to like go take out Russian targets. The cool thing about Gunship, first of all, the keyboard, I could talk about this for a long time, so I'm just going to truncate it real quick. The keyboard had an overlay that you put on, a paper overlay that told you what keys did what. Okay. This was important because almost every single key on the keyboard did something.
Wow.
As well as there was a booklet that came with it. Okay. And they used that as their copy protection because this is pre-copy protection days, right? Anti-piracy stuff. What they did is they had a challenge system. So when you would fly back to your base after a mission, right, they would challenge you. They'd say like Orange 7, right, for example. And then you have to look in the book and see what the response was. Just like the real, you know how they break the thing in the movies, right? They got to authenticate the orders. It's like that. But in the book, you'd have to, one of the ways they did it was they had, you had to identify the outline of a vehicle. That's how I learned what the BMP-10 looks like, which is a Russian armored personnel carrier from the 80s. I learned it because in Gunship, you need to be able to identify the outline. It was in the book, but if you didn't have the book.
What year was this? Because I've never heard this before.
Oh my God. Yeah, let's see. I was 13, so 88.
Okay, that's why I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, hold on.
I was only 3 years old.
Gunship game. I love that game, by the way. If they made like an updated graphics
I played Atari,
version. You played what? Atari? Yeah. So, I can get it for $1.19. Let's see. Okay, so hold on. There, I give you guys an idea of what I'm talking about here.
And this was a PC?
This was a Commodore 64, which was one of the first personal computers made. The first one, I think, was the I can't think of the first one, but there was I had a Texas Instruments when I was very little, like a TI-82, I think. And then the Commodore 64 I got later, although the Commodore 64 was actually less powerful than what I had. The 64 was a massive success for the company. And it spawned so many programs and games. But
how big was it?
The game, like the size, or
the size.
I've
seen the old computers where they're like massive. I know it's probably wouldn't be that big.
Let me see, original.
I'm just curious.
It was like it fit on a. Okay, so the disk drive for the Commodore 64 was a floppy disk.
Okay, I know what
Okay.
floppy disk is.
Also, the Commodore 64 predated floppies because it had a tape drive, like a cassette tape.
Oh, a cassette.
Yeah, it used cassette tapes as before
Really?
the floppy disk was invented.
I know what a floppy disk is.
Okay, yeah, here we go. This is what the original gunship looked like. I mean, it's very.
Did you have to mill to get it, or did you get it at Kmart, or?
No, you could go to like Sears. Sears had all kinds of video games at the time. I'm trying to see. Because that is the original. Okay, so here, yeah, this is what it looked like on the Commodore 64, right? So there's a BMP2, and then, like I said, you'd have to answer the challenge to land, and if you got it wrong, they'd shoot you down.
I see.
Yeah. I
Interesting
miss
how
gunship, dude.
how technology progressed.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, here's the. It was made by a company called Microprose, which they made a lot of simulations and strategy type games. Let's see, Master of Magic. I'm pretty sure they made that. They made, anyway, like I said, I could talk about it for a long time. I was a big time computer nerd in the 80s. I had a friend who got a kick-ass computer to me. It was the Amiga. You ever heard of it? No, the Amiga was yeah, there it is. Here, I'll show you guys. Introduced by Commodore in 1985, the original model is one of a number of mid-80s computers with 16 or 1632-bit processors, 256K or more of RAM, mouse-based GUIs, GUI is graphic user interface, GUI, and significantly improved graphics and audio compared to previous 8-bit systems. It was introduced in 1985. So the Amiga 1000, $1,295 at the time, equivalent to $3,520 in 2022. Monitor, $300, equivalent to $820 in 2022. Yeah, they were not cheap. So my buddy had got an Amiga, different friend, not Jen. And the things that computer were capable of at the time, obviously, were just like, oh my God, it was insane. He used it to hack stuff, right?
Oh, really?
He hacked. Anyway, he hacked some stuff.
Okay.
And he got caught, kinda. But what it is it actually turned into a job for him because instead of prosecuting him, they hired him.
Wow.
He works for the government now.
Okay.
Yeah. He's what you would call a white hat. He's a what they call ethical hackers or whatever.
Okay,
They attack the system
to see where the
vulnerabilities are so they can fix it. Yeah, and he got that job by hacking the DOD and like he did all kinds of stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, he was way cooler than I was on the computer, man. Like I was like, what are you doing, my guy? I went over there, one day and he's just like, I'm like, that looks really important. He's like, yeah, give me a minute. Yeah, it was nuts. Yeah, we had a good time. I didn't, because I never like War Games, right? Have you ever seen the movie War Games?
I have not.
Oh my God. Okay. We're gonna have to, you know what? We're gonna have to like do like a movie night or something because we gotta catch you up, man. I'm just kidding.
Person.
Yeah. There are a few movies though that you really could benefit from. So is there anything else you wanna say? I think we covered everything, didn't we?
I think we covered everything.
Yeah, I think we got it all. We may have missed one. I'm not 100% sure. Let me take a look here. Did that, and did that. Yeah, cool. We got it all. All right, awesome. Anything else you want to tell the viewers before we wrap it up?
Nope.
Okay.
Thanks for having me again.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're always welcome, man. I think I did want to tell people, so we're going to do 2
Next week, yep.
videos this upcoming week on
Friday and Saturday.
So make sure you tune in 7 p.m. Eastern, right?
7 p.m. Central.
Central. I don't know why I said Eastern.
8
Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. For the rest of Indiana, the crappy parts of Indiana, no, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. Northwest Indiana is the only part of Indiana that is on Central Time. The entire rest of the state is on Eastern Time. Indianapolis, South Bend, Fort Wayne, like all of it. Michigan City, Porter County, and Lake County are on Chicago time. Why? Because the economy is so dependent on Chicago, visitors, etc. They made the determination back when they were doing the time zones. They said, no, we rely so heavily on Chicago, both for our jobs and tourism, that we want to stay whatever time zone Chicago's on, we want to stay on that time zone.
And we're going to move our clocks forward tonight.
Oh, yeah. Spring ahead, fall back. Spring ahead, fall back.
And there's people in Congress who want to end daylight savings time, which would be.
What do you think of that? Give me your quick rundown. What do you think?
I think it's kind of obsolete, so I would be fine with that, actually.
Here's what I don't get, right? As far as the daylight savings time thing. Allegedly, it was having to do with farmers.
Was it?
That's what I heard. You know what? Let's look it up real quick. What is the origin
It makes sense.
daylight saving? I had it. So what is the origin of Day of the Dead? Oh, okay. Now this is interesting. Okay, so I was wrong, and I freely admit it. Check this out. DST, which is daylight savings time, was first implemented in the U.S. with the Standard Time Act of 1918, a wartime measure for 7 months during World War I in the interest of adding more daylight hours to conserve energy resources. Year-round DST, or wartime, was implemented again during World War II.
And they just never took it away.
Yeah, that is very, very interesting.
The Senate passed a bill ending daylight savings time the last Congress, but the House didn't take it up.
So, I do believe it's obsolete. It can get confusing, and they actually showed that the springtime where you set the clocks ahead, right? You lose an hour.
Yep.
And there's a huge issue with employers, with people coming to work late and losing.
And I've also heard there's more accidents that happen.
Yeah. A lot of people are getting into accidents on their way to work because they're tired and da. Yeah. I don't know.
I think it's obsolete.
I'd like to see. Oh, you know what? They're having a vote. I wanted to touch on this really quickly before we end. I can't remember the name of it, but it's like House Bill 1268 here in Indiana, where they want to make it easier to kick you out of meetings.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they had a Senate vote on it. And our senator, Mike Bohacek, well, technically he's not our senator. Our senator is Rodney Pohl. But just a little east and south of us, Mike Bohacek, he voted against it because of public pressure. People called him and said, vote against this. And he was like, okay, all right, the people have spoken. So good for him. Let's see. Let me see if that's right. Indiana House Bill. I think it's let's try that. I bet you no, that's not it. Hold on. House Bill about meeting. I don't know. Let's try that. No. Is this the one? Wait. Yeah. I think this is it. Yeah. Okay, so it is 1338. I'm sorry, House Bill 1338. The bill is authored by Rep. J.D. Prescott and would establish criteria for behavior at local government meetings. The bill also says that someone who intentionally enters or refuses to leave a restricted government building would be guilty of criminal trespass. Prescott said this piece of legislation has been necessitated by, quote, political agitators who have shown up and disrupted local government meetings and posted the videos online. An amendment clarified that the bill would only apply to local government and not to charter or public schools. It would also allow the governing body to adopt rules and policies regarding attendees' conduct at meetings. This could include restrictions on time and steps to maintain order during a meeting.
I think that's new.
Yeah.
When we discussed this a couple months ago, I don't remember that. That must be.
They added that
They did
amendment.
add- okay.
Yeah. Prescott said there would be a 3 strikes and you're out approach. The first 2 strikes would be verbal warnings, and after the third warning, the presiding officer could ask the attendee to leave. If they refused to leave, the officer would have the ability to remove them from the meeting. Quote, the last thing we want to do is violate anybody's First Amendment rights. My whole procedure is just like we're in this meeting here today, right? We've got rules of decorum that we conduct as a body. So I just want to make sure we're having a civil discussion, Prescott said. Indiana's public access counselor, Luke Britt, testified in favor of the bill. He said that this is not a unique issue to Winchester, whose mayor testified. It's statewide. Britt said that whenever he speaks to towns, cities, or counties, he asks if people have encountered these types of issues, and 3/4 of people raise their hands. He continued, saying the bill mirrors what he has issued for his office in the form of advisory opinions. Quote, I think that gives more competence to local officials to keep that decorum, to keep civility, to keep those business meetings professional, because all you have to do is go to YouTube, find a few of these examples. Britt said the parameters around decorum and civility would give local officials the opportunity to craft policies on public comment forums and make better opportunities for civic engagement. Rep. Chris Campbell, D. Lafayette, asked how the bill would affect protesters who come to the State House to voice their concerns about legislation. That's a great question. Britt said he didn't think the bill would impede anyone's ability to protest or express discontent, that the bill takes concepts vetted by federal authorities and applies them to Indiana. A staff member chimed in to say the bill wouldn't affect state affairs, only local entities. Another person who testified in favor was Winchester Mayor Bob McCoy. McCoy said he has been dealing with the problem the bill seeks to address since May 2022. That's when town meetings started getting more aggressive. Yeah, this is what I wanted to say. My wife, I didn't make it today, but we have a Republican breakfast once a month. And the breakfast was today. The wife went and she was able to talk to Pressel, Representative Pressel, Jim Pressel from Rolling Prairie. And she asked him about this bill. And he's like, yeah, it stems from Winchester because they're having a bunch of issues there. So this is what that's about. Bob McCoy says, we've got 2 or 3 people that have pretty much monopolized our meetings since May of 2022. They did slow down in August of 23 after I ended up filing a protective order against an individual for us and me, my family, my secretary, and a local attorney, McCoy said. He even went as far as going to our attorney's office and filming clients going in and out. So it got really ugly. I started carrying a gun, which I'd never carried before. McCoy said he spoke to the police chief and his county prosecutor, but was told to take a hands-off approach when dealing with those disrupting meetings. McCoy ended his testimony saying his office doesn't cut people off after 3 minutes or if they're in the middle of speaking. However, a lot of times it's nothing to do with city business and is either a personal attack or about a problem with the school corporation. Following testimony, Prescott thanked his co-authors, and Campbell requested to be a co-author on the bill, making it bipartisan. The bill passed 11-0. So that was back in January. That was the initial in the committee, the initial bill in the committee. It passed the committee. It went to the House. And so now that we know it's House Bill 1338, let's take a look here.
And their session for the year ended yesterday.
Let's see here. Okay, so House concurred in Senate amendments, added as co-authors, returned to the House with amendments. House concurred in Senate amendments. So roll call 302, 58 yeas, nays 36. So it appears to have passed.
The House and the Senate?
That's what I'm, okay, so on the 4th, so they put 5 amendments on it, right? I don't see number 4, but interestingly enough, we got amendment number 1 failed, voice vote. Amendment number 2 failed. Amendment number 3 prevailed. Amendment number 5 prevailed. That was on the 4th. And then third reading, it passed. Then it was returned to the House with amendments. Campbell was removed as co-author. Miller added as co-author. Motion to concur filed, which is how they get away from an actual vote. A motion to concur is, yeah, we agree with it. It's because then you show up as you voted for concurrence, not for this bill. Yeah. There's a lot of things that are kind of shady in our government. But just so you guys know, here is the list. Of course, now this is the House.
How did Soliday vote?
Let's take a look here. Soliday voted yay. Of course he did. I actually don't see. Oh, because he's a senator. Let's see. Boy voted against it. Interestingly enough. Let's see here. Who else do we have? Teshka. Teshka voted for it. Who else can you think of around this area?
Let me think. Who was my rep in Counts? I can't think of his name. Starts with an A.
Abbott, Aylesworth, Andrade. Aylesworth voted yay. Andrade, he's from Munster area. He's a Democrat. However, I actually like, he's a moderate Democrat. He's like JFK Democrat. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I like that guy, man. He's very no nonsense, very straightforward. Mike, I think his name's Mike Andrade, and he won his election, and he had some like really, really good statements that he's made. And I've kind of paid attention to his voting record.
Not bad.
I don't hate it, man. Like, yeah, he's done better than some of these so-called Republicans out there. Put it that way.
How did Lucas vote?
Lucas, that's a good question. Lucas voted yay. Now, listen, I'm going to say this about this bill because I think it's important that we understand. I am not opposed to decorum rules. They are necessary. The problem that I have with this bill is the same that I had when I initially talked about it a few weeks ago, and that is there are no hard and fast, there are no solid rules for what determines disruptive conduct.
And they like to get their foot in the door, and then you don't know where it's going to lead.
Right.
That's my problem with it.
Mm-hmm. If you give the government an inch, they will take a mile. Every single time. Just like there's the meme. It's a meme, but it's painfully true. And that is, if you give the government emergency power or powers during an emergency, they will always make sure there's an emergency. And it's absolutely true. Now, that said, I am against this bill because of the reasons that I stated. There is no definitive, this constitutes unacceptable behavior, right? You cannot act a fool in a council meeting or, talking to your mayor or whatever, right? You can't be stomping and throwing stuff and, acting ridiculous. At the same time, the Supreme Court has ruled you can have personal attacks. You can refer to people personally. You can also refer to their job performance. You can say they lied about things. The Supreme Court has ruled on all this. The First Amendment, that's like we have this chode in Congress talking about the First Amendment isn't absolute. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it actually is. And these are the people that want to determine what you and I can do online.
What he probably means when he says that is, I'm not excusing it. I'm for the First Amendment.
Right.
But say like fire in a crowded.
Actually, the Supreme Court found
Really?
that is absolutely
okay.
covered.
That you're going to harm somebody.
Right. And again, it's like Biden claiming the Second Amendment is not absolute, right? No amendment is absolute. Actually, and that's the thing, of all the amendments, I'd say the most absolute one is the second. Shall not be infringed. It's pretty darn clear. Now, everything they have done has been unconstitutional as far as restricting our allegedly protected rights. All this stuff. But that's a discussion for another time. Ladies and gentlemen, we're at an hour and a half. Thank you so much for coming out and enjoying your time with us, because we enjoyed having you. For those of you that are watching on X, I would appreciate if you guys could drop a comment, because I was told that a couple of you guys were commenting, but I'm not seeing it. So I want to make sure that StreamYard is the program that I use, and I want to make sure that I'm able to see what you guys say. I've had an issue. See, allegedly, StreamYard claims that and I will tell you, it works on Facebook, it works on YouTube, it does not work on Rumble. It's supposed to work on X. So if you're watching on X, a quick hi would be appreciated so that I can make sure that the comments are showing up.
I just saw a comment.
See, that's interesting because you're seeing comments.
I just saw a comment.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
This is really wild because I'm not seeing comments, but he is.
I just saw it flash on the.
Oh, was it this? Hang on. Was it this?
Yes.
Okay, that was me. I did that.
Oh, that was you.
That was me. Yeah.
That's
okay.
Right. Okay.
All right. So again,
I think
I'd appreciate it if you're watching on X, formerly Twitter, just a quick hi or whatever, just to see if it works. I would appreciate it. Otherwise, I hope you have a great evening. We will see you guys Friday. I have, I can't look right now, but I have a show coming up where we're going to do a kind of a crossover episode. I am with a show called Mouthwash that is pretty popular here in Indiana. And they're going to appear on my show, then I'm going to appear on theirs and kind of do a little cross.
That's cool.
Yeah. I'm trying to do that with more programs because not only is it a good opportunity for excellent dialogue, which I'm always a fan of, but it gives a chance to reach more people and give them an opportunity to learn, hey, there's somebody else out there that says dumb stuff. Maybe I'll listen to him for a little while.
What day is that?
I'll have to look. I had it written down and no, I can't. Never mind. I got excited because I was like, my phone's right here, but it's, anyway. I will definitely let you know, and I'll let all of you know because I'm going to make a graphic for it and all of that. But that's it for tonight.
Yep.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. God bless you. God bless Indiana, and God bless the United States of